Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So this time we're actually going to be drawing how I visualize the Greek gods. I really love the Greek and Roman gods. I just think that they're really neat. No, I'm not a Percy Jackson fan, but I digress. Today in this video we will be doing Eros, Apollon, and Hermes. I hope I'm saying those right. That's how I say them at least. And yes, I did have an N at the end of Apollo because that's his actual Greek name. But without further ado, let's hop to it and start with the first one. Okay, so we are starting off with Eros. Also, we've amped up the production quality of the videos, as you can see. Isn't that cute? We got a cute little border. I'm showing my brushes in this speed paint because some people were asking me about my brushes, and as soon as I figure out how that I can upload them to like let people use them, I will. But yeah, I also lost my inking brush, so I had to re-download it. So I'll link that down in the description of this video as well. So, but yes, I will link all my brushes. But let's move on to the line art. Okay, so why I chose Eros. Here's the thing. So if you follow my Instagram, or even literally any of my social medias other than my YouTube, you'll know that I draw Eros a lot. Like, way too much. I draw him excessively. Maybe it's because I'm a helpless romantic or something. I don't really know. I just really love... He's just a really cool deity. Because I don't know. He's built different. You know what I mean? Like, he's not talked about often, if I'm being honest. But like, he's very fascinating because he's one of those gods who, like, traditionally people were scared of. Like, people were straight scared of him because of his nature and just the way that he was. He was just built so different that people were like, I don't want to anger him at all. He literally broke Apollo's heart, you know, the god who was also kind of people were scared of a little bit because he was the god of plagues. You know that god? Yeah. He broke his heart. He made him sad and just completely crushed his spirit. And it was all because Apollo one day was just like, hey, I bet I'm a better archer than you. And Eros was like, really? You really gonna talk smack like that? And he shot Apollo with a gold arrow and made him fall in love with Daphne, who's a nymph, and then shot Daphne with a lead arrow, which makes people hate like someone else. Lead arrows make you hate someone or something. Golden arrows make you fall in love. So Apollo was literally doomed to this unrequited love, all because he talked some smack to Eros. Like, bro, you're telling me that that's not a cool deity and that's not a cool story? Come on now. But yeah, he's known for being an extremely mischievous god, and I absolutely love that for him. That it's so, I don't know, it's just such a good thing. I love it so much. It's so funny to me because it's just one of those things where it's like, you don't expect it, you know? I mean, it kind of makes sense with what he domains. He's the god of love, more specifically physical love and like that type of stuff. He's the god of desire. So it makes sense because love and desire can be really unfair and even dangerous and cruel. It's unrequited at times. It's heartbreak. It's being lovesick. It's all these things that love is. So it makes sense for him to be, you know, a little childish at times. And I mean, he was, in all fairness, a literal child for like a very long time. He was depicted as a child for a long time, and it made sense again with how love behaves. But yeah, he's just such a built different god, and I love it so much. He's just so, he's just fun. He's a fun deity to me, and he's one of my favorites. Um, but yeah, we're gonna move on to the color, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about him. So, but because I wanted to encompass that mischievous and, like fun, playful behavior, I generally draw him young, because he is a young depicted god. And I wanted his main color to be pink because whenever you think of love, you think of pink. You know what I mean? The classic cupids, all that cute stuff. But yeah, I wanted him to be pretty and pink and mischievous and maybe a little bit mysterious. But as far as color and stuff like that goes, there wasn't a whole lot of thought in it, other than I for sure wanted him to have pink highlights. I even gave him a little bit of makeup. Not a lot, but a little bit of eyeshadow. I'm not great at doing makeup, like drawing it. It is still one of those things that I haven't really learned because, spoiler alert, I don't really wear makeup. So I don't really have that knowledge of how it works or how it even would translate on an art piece very well. I try my best, but you can only do so much without doing a study on it. I wanted to keep his colors nice and warm and vibrant though. I also wanted to make his wings like dove wings because those are one of the animals that I would say are associated with Eros. Cupid, classic love, bow and arrow, stuff like that. So they are little pink dove wings. They are pink a little bit, but I think that they're really cute. I think they're cuties. Gave them that cute little ombre and stuff. So I think they turned out cute. I like them. I even gave them a little bit of glitter. Cute stuff. But yeah, I did want to. Because he is an embodiment of desire, I did not give him very many clothes. I feel like that's kind of an obvious choice to make. But, I didn't want to go full nude. I feel like, A, that's not appropriate for my channel, and B, I'm not very good at nude drawings. I'm scared to go to a class that has nude artwork because I'm scared I'm going to butcher it. But yes, for those of you who don't know, because I did mention that, I'm not in school currently. I'll be enrolling very soon to a community college and hopefully a bigger school eventually. But, I'm just kind of seeing where life takes me. I'm self-taught, have been for a long time, and I enjoy it. I like having my own little lessons because I literally make my own little lessons. But I love doing what I do, and I really love studying Greek sculptures and paintings and stuff like that and interpreting the Greek gods. The Greek gods, honestly, are some of my muses. I love drawing them and painting them and I just love it so much. It's so fun to me. Them and even biblical characters. I don't know. There's something about drawing mythology and history that just it scratches a little thing in my brain and it makes me happy. But yeah, I was trying to figure out what I want to do for the background, so I ended up doing cute little like smoke things, but they were shaped in hearts and stuff like that. I really like how they turned out. I think they're very elusive to how love is. Love is a fog. It comes in quietly and then it inhales into your lungs without you even knowing it. But yeah, I really like how he turned out, and I guess we will just chug right along into Apollo, but you'll get to see the finished piece before that. So there you go. I have a lot to say about Apollo, and I've got a few bones to pick with some people. Yes, this is gonna be a cute little segment of me complaining and whining about how awful people interpret Apollo and how just Hollywood really messed him up. Um, because he is one of the more popular gods, he has a lot more representation than, say, Eros, obviously. I don't even think many people know who he is unless you say Cupid. So without any further, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this as a concise and well-formed rant as I possibly can. So, first off, I want to say that Apollon, with an N, is not the god of the sun. I know, shocker. Everyone say it with me now. Apollon is not the god of the sun. Thank you. He's the god of light, but he is not the god of the sun. Why is there a difference? Because you can get light from other sources too, homie. He's the god of light, not sun. Okay? Okay. Now, the reason why I used sun imagery is because there's not really a sun, symbol. So I used sun imagery to best portray that light aspect and that importance of light within his dominion. But he's not the god of light. Okay, thank you very much. Within media, Apollo is, at best, not properly interpreted, and at worst, completely off the chart. Not even close. Just bad representation and interpretation. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Media and Hollywood, they're not there for accurate interpretation unless it's like a documentary. I get it, I do. But it's just one of those things where it got to a point where it didn't even feel like Apollo was Apollo anymore. And what I mean by that is that historically, Apollo was a very heavily respected god. Like, he was important, and he was heavily respected. He was taken seriously. He was the god of literal plagues. He was the god of good health and plagues. He was the god of order, and he was the god of intellect. He was a very important deity, and he just kind of got muddled down when it came to media representation, which really, really sucks. He basically just got watered down to this little ukulele man who loves to play music and write poems and fall in love and a hopeless romantic. And yes, he is all those things, but he's so much more. And it really saddens me when I see media who wants to heavily take inspiration or use Greek figures or even other mythological figures without doing the actual work. What I mean by that is without actually doing the hard work and the research when it came down to, all right, how do I want to interpret this being or this entity to fit my story? And how does that play in my story? Does it play in my story at all? And don't get me wrong, I know that all of the Greek gods get the short end of the stick when it comes to media representation, because look at Zeus, look at Hera, look at even Aphrodite. They all get, bad reps, they do. But Apollo just gets such a terrible rep. He becomes something completely different than what he originally was. And it's really saddening. So when I was, drawing him, I wanted to represent him as best as I possibly could. So let's talk about my representation of him. Now that the mini rant is over, I can talk about why I drew him the way I drew him. Woohoo! So as you saw in the sketches, I drew him with a globe. And that's because I was going to initially do that because I took inspiration from a classical painting. I don't know what the painting is called, but it was a painting of Apollo and Dionysus. It was basically a representation and a literal personification of chaos and order in the world. Order being portrayed by Apollo and his followers, and chaos being portrayed by Dionysus and his. So I was going to do that, and I scratched it because I was like, no one's gonna recognize that. That's such a niche painting and like concept. So I was like, forget that. I'm not gonna do that, even though it was a cool idea. But I did incorporate his white raven, as you see. According to Greek myth, originally ravens were white. But it was after Apollo found out that a princess was cheating on her from a raven messenger that he then got angry and scorched the birds. That's just a very quick synopsis of the myth, but I wanted to incorporate them because it's just, it's a silly little myth to me. So I just wanted to incorporate it. I also, because they're his eyes in disguise, I guess, I gave the little raven a cute little bright omen, oracle, shining eyeball. I was going to initially keep his colors between yellow and white, yellowish gold and white, but I really like how the orange contrasted everything else because I felt like it was getting a little bit too mushy. Like his skin was very tan, so it was kind of yellowish in tone. So it was just a nice contrast in my opinion. But yeah, also fun little fact, Apollo's lyre, I believe I'm saying that correctly, but it's the musical instrument that he's holding. His lyre has 11 strings on it, and if I recall correctly, these strings represent the other 11 main gods, aka the Olympians. So that's a really cool cute little hidden meaning in there. If you are a Greek nerd like me, Greco-Roman nerd like me, then you'll be able to catch on to those small little things. Also, another fun little small thing is on his sun emblem, I actually incorporated the planetary / alchemical symbol for sun, which is just basically a circle with a dot in the center. So, I had a bunch of fun little Easter eggs for Apollo's, whereas for Eros's, I didn't. But I had a lot of fun with his, and I wanted to represent him well. So I kept him with the golden hair, that's what he's known for. And I kept him with the fair skin, because that's one of his epithets, if I'm recalling correctly. I believe it is fair-skinned, I could be wrong. But anyways, I just wanted to make him look very orderly, very put together. So I think that I accomplished that pretty well, and everyone ignore how poorly I draw feet, okay? It's a work in progress, alright? I'm getting there, I'm getting better with time, okay? It takes time. I don't know why I decided to draw characters where I knew that their feet would be exposed, their little toes and grippies are exposed. With that being said, we'll just finish this up and then you'll get to see the end result, and yeah, we'll move on to Hermes. Alrighty, and last but certainly not least, we have Hermes, the god of travel, commerce, messages, etc. So I definitely think that Hermes is also a fan favorite and one who gets the short end of the stick. So we will talk about that and talk about how I chose to imagine him. But here's his pose. I've kept it very dynamic, and let's move on to the line art now. So Hermes is definitely an interesting deity when it comes to media presentation and media, I guess, appearance. Because he's normally portrayed, at least the patterns that I've seen, as very, very arrogant and very spontaneous and, doesn't really think ahead, stuff like that, which is understandable due to his nature and what he domains, and he's known to be a mischievous and trickery type deity and god. So it makes sense, but it's also one of those things where it's like, but he's also not just that. He's serious at times. He's not just a prankster. and I feel like he only gets boiled down to a prankster. But he was also a herding deity. He was a field deity. So he was important to farmers and ranchers and people who own livestock. Not only that, but he literally made the world go round. Like, as far as finances go and commerce and trade, that was his domain. So Hermes was pretty important, and while he can be unfair and tricky at times, he's still a very important god and can be very serious. And within media, I feel like he's just, similar with Apollo. He's just seen as this really lighthearted and goofy deity, when in reality, he was a little bit darker and he can get a little serious. But yeah, for the way that I wanted to interpret him and such. In the past, I had drawn him with blonde hair, but this time I stuck with brown, keeping it consistent with traditional depictions. I also gave him cute little trinkets and such on his satchel. I wanted his satchel to have character, to make it look worn and weathered. So I did that, and I really like how his satchel turned out. I think it really fits him. I was also looking at another artist who drew him one time. I think it was from the Hades game, though. I'm not familiar with the Hades game too well, so anytime I look up art for the Greek gods, chances are it's fan art of the Hades game. But I really liked how they drew the outfit for Hermes, so I took some inspiration and creative liberty in that regard. But yeah, there's also a bit of irony as far as his iconography and like sacred animals and such goes. For example, one of his sacred animals is a tortoise. The god of speed and travel and such. One of his sacred animals is the slowest animal. I mean, that's not fully true. Tortoises can be speedy if they want to be, but irony and all that fun jazz. So I think that's just a pretty fun little fact. But yeah, I gave him feathered wing ears type things and a cute scarf, so let's do the coloring. Okay, so Hermes has a lot of interesting stuff about him because, he is the god of travel, and with that even includes the travel to the underworld. I know that it's kind of common and a well-known fact because for those of you who haven't watched Blood of Zeus, I've only watched a little bit, by the way, I haven't watched the entire series. But we see that Hermes takes someone, I don't remember who, because again, it's been a really long time since I watched the show. But we see that he takes someone to the underworld, and that's true. He's what's called a psychopomp, something like that. I can never remember how to properly say the term, so please forgive me. But essentially what a psychopomp is it's a being or even a deity who takes the dead to the underworld. They help them transition from the living realm to the underworld and the realm of the dead. But yeah, that's a really fun fact about him that I don't think many people know unless you're, watching a bunch of Greek stuff or you're really big into Greek mythology. But another one of my favorite facts about him is that he is a build different god, and I mean this as nicely and as sweetly and as sincerely as I possibly can. But he's something else. I'll give you an example. I'll give you one of my favorite myths of him, and this will be an example, okay? So when he was a kid, well, technically he was an infant, he was a little baby boy, he was a little lad, he was just chilling in his crib one night, and then one day he was like, you know what? Forget this. So he snuck out of his crib. He got out of his crib somehow. He was a literal infant, but he got out of his little baby god crib, and he was like, all right, you see that flock over there and that herd? That's mine now. He literally stole his brother's, Apollon, he stole his brother's cattle and flock. Like he was like, bippity boppity, that's my property now. He just stole it. Like he literally stole his flock. And then to top it all off, which it's just so, it's funny to me. I don't know why, it just is. But to top everything off, to really get it in there and really grind his gears. You want to know what this kid did? He made a lyre out of a tortoise shell. You know, a lyre, like the instrument that Apollo is known for. You know, Apollon, the god of, you know, music and oracles and plagues and flocks and, well, not really flocks, but sort of, you know, that god? You know, the god that everyone was scared of because he was the god of plagues? Yeah, he did that. And then his father was like, you know what, son? You did so good that you're gonna be one of the Olympians now. What? It's funny to me, and I like it. And then, one of his sacred animals is a tortoise. You know, the animal that's stereotyped to be, you know, really, really slow is a sacred animal to the god who's really, really fast. So, good old irony. Love me some irony. It's the literary and English student in me. But, yeah, he reminds me of those uncles who show up once in a blue moon to family reunions and tells inappropriate and funny stories to the kids, and the parents don't find it funny. That's what he reminds me of. But, yeah, I'm not super happy with how his turned out. It's not my favorite out of all of them. But, you know, still like it. Still think it looks good. I would definitely change a few things if I were to do it again. I should have done it again, but I didn't do it again. But yeah, I like how it turned out. I like all his little trinkets and details. I was gonna do his helmet. I was gonna add a little tortoise flare in there somewhere for irony, but I decided against it. So here is the final product. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly love talking about and drawing the Greek gods, so this was a lot of fun. But yeah, if you guys like this and you like these types of videos where I ramble about how much I love them and even some of their myths, I am more than happy to do more of them. Without further ado though, I will see you guys in the next video. So until then, be safe, have fun, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye!